welcome back, everyone. My name is Mahendra Mahey. I'm the manager of BL Labs, and I've been running it really since the start of the project. I hope you had a great lunch, managed to meet old colleagues and new people. For us, the networking is a really important part of this event. And for me, really, it's about inspiring you to either work with our digital collections, ask for advice, come up with ideas, or spread the word and tell others to do so. When I joined the library over 5 years ago, one of the things I was determined to do was to get as many people to make use of our digital collections as possible, not just in the UK, but around the world. We are sitting on so much knowledge and information to inspire everyone. And a lot of it isn't available through search engines. I believe in some way we have made some progress in improving engagement with our digital collections. We've still got a lot to do. And Rowley mentioned some statistics of engagement this morning. One of the other things that I just wanted to briefly mention was when we started running the labs, it was quite a lonely place. And I was really determined to make sure I shared any lessons I learned, and something that Dan mentioned, mistakes that were made with other colleagues in the cultural heritage sector, especially those who wanted to do something similar, to set up experimental labs, to get their digital collections and data reused. So we've started a group, an international group, and for interested organizations who want to set up labs, already have labs, to reuse their digital collections. And really, it's to stop us all from reinventing the wheel. It's been hard work, but also lots of fun, working with my colleagues in BL Labs and Digital Scholarship. And I'd also just like to name check a few colleagues who've now left BL Labs. Ben Osteen, this is the first symposium I've done without him. He is our technical lead, who's now gone to the Getty in Los Angeles. And Hannah Lewis, who's our former project officer. I just want to say I miss you. Okay. So I'm chairing the session. So first off, I would like to introduce my colleague Nora McGregor, who is Digital Curator of European and America's collections at the British Library. She has extensive experience in delivering digital and digitization projects, digital skills training and exhibitions. She's particularly interested in the methods and tools of digital scholarship, exploring how we use digital technologies in shaping our research processes and environments, and particularly how they impact on library services. Nora's presentation will highlight some of the innovative projects recently completed or underway in the Digital Scholarship Department. Nora McGregor.
All right. It's so great to see everyone, and I know so many faces here. It's kind of amazing. I hope you enjoyed your lunch, and I'm excited for the next part of this day. As Mahendra said, I'm going to just talk a little bit about the Digital Scholarship Department at the British Library and highlight only a few of the awesome projects that we are good examples of the kind of stuff that we get into. So we've got so many. I had to really pick just a few, sadly. So just to kick off, so who are we in the Digital Scholarship Department? So we are a small but beautiful team, a diverse team. I'm a librarian. We have digital historians. We have people with expertise in digital humanities, in computer and data science. And the department was started around 2010 because the library was smart enough to realize that there were questions that were coming at us that we weren't capable of answering. So, you had scholars not just asking, could I see a digitized copy of this manuscript? They were saying, can I see every single digitized manuscript copy that you have all at once? And I want to do computational analysis on it. And we said, okay, I'm not sure what that means. So that's what our department was the grounding for our department. And we're occasional bowling aficionados, I would say. Just kidding. We're pretty terrible at bowling. We just discovered this. So why are we here? Our mission is to enable the use of British Library digital collections and data for research, inspiration, creativity, and enjoyment. So it's a tall order, and we do this in many different ways. Obviously, we support digital scholars. This is the bread and butter of what we do. But what does that mean? Who are digital scholars? So we kind of play loose with that terminology. It's really anyone wishing to use our digital collections and data in exciting and innovative ways, really. So you'll see that through some of the projects I'll show you examples of. And again, BL Labs, we're talking about it all day today, obviously, but it's a concept that's been essential to this work because it lets us sort of consolidate all of our activities under this wonderful brand name, and the activities are around promoting the use of digital collections and data. We're piloting new services all the time, so a big one in supporting digital scholars was to try and get all of our data sets in one place online, so data.bl.uk. It was a bit experimental. It's not exactly the service that we want, the end service that we want, but it's a start. And these are the kind of things that we pilot for digital scholars. And we answer everyday questions in the digital scholarship team. So you can write us anytime, either through labs or digital research at bl.uk, and we will try and help you with your digital scholarship questions. And we get into some pretty fun stuff. So a really cool idea or cool project that we recently got involved in terms of promoting digital collections and data to future scholars. So again, it's that definition of what is a digital scholar. So it can be children as well. So this was an AHRC-funded collaboration with Lancaster University as part of the chronotopic cartography project. And this is where they recreated literary landscapes like Treasure Island using the Minecraft platform. So what they're trying to do there is to get reluctant readers engaged with these texts. And so you can go on the Minecraft platform and you can look at recreations, faithful recreations of literary landscapes. So like Treasure Island, for instance. And kids and adults, anyone who likes Minecraft, can access the original texts and do kind of building activities around these texts. So, Daniel was saying it's very hard to get the Guardian to like what you're doing when you're experimenting, so this is pretty cool for us. And this is another thing that we get up to. So we are agents of change, which I love that term. Everything we do is aimed at making sure the library can meet the needs of anyone wishing to do data-driven research with our collections. And I think our team got a first kind of taste of the awesomeness of being an agent for change when we dumped 1 million public domain images on Flickr without telling many people at the British Library that we were doing that. And we can see through all of this whole experience and all the research and activities that were born out of, getting those images out into the public domain and getting them out online on platforms that people will find them, all the beautiful things that can come out of that. So, every symposium usually talks about how the Flickr images have been used because they're going to be there for a while and hopefully, depending on how Flickr decides to charge us in the future. But so that's Agents for Change. But a lot of the stuff is not as exciting as that. So a lot of what our team gets up to is in, the kind of messy stuff in the back end that's not as thrilling unless you're a librarian. So we work on projects within the library to get, access to the digital collections better through better viewers. So we work on AAIF-enabled viewers for the digital content. I think that was mentioned earlier. So it's not glamorous, but it's the nuts and bolts of what needs to happen, and that's what our department works on. But we also keep an eye firmly on the future, so we need to look at what the next big thing is going to come down the line to impact the way that we do our jobs here at the library. And for example, emerging formats emerging formats are complex digital media, so interactive storytelling, that sort of thing, and new ways of using technology for telling stories or reading books. So formats are changing, and this is affecting everything that we're doing at the library. So we need to be aware of what that change is going to look like and how we're going to react to it. So we get involved in projects like this, which is ambient literature. I don't know if anyone has heard of this one, but it was a 2-year collaboration between Bristol, Bath Spa, and University of Birmingham, and we were advisors on this project. And it focuses on studying emergent forms of literature and how the rules of the reading experience are being redefined. So through that project, 3 authors created new works, and the works essentially respond to the presence of a reader. So there'll be mobile apps that are dynamic. So you're playing the app, you're reading the book, and it knows where you are, and the story is changing based on your environment and the technology that you're using. So you can imagine the challenge that is going to pose us at the British Library for archiving and preserving these sorts of materials. So we like to get involved in these kinds of projects so that we can keep up with these trends and understand where they're going and be able to react to that. So I'm going to play a little video. There weren't enough videos today, so I thought, let's add a video. And this is one of the apps.
Breathe is a digital ghost story that you can read on your phone. The story is about a character called Flo who lost her mother when she was a child. And she has this ability to communicate with ghosts. She thinks, okay, who is the one ghost that I do actually want to talk to? And of course, that's her mother. So the story is about her trying to figure out how to connect with her mother when in fact all these other ghosts keep arriving. I did think of the story as a story to read in bed at night, perhaps by yourself, in your room, where you feel safe and you feel willing to read a ghost story. Part of how we relate to technology is this idea that sometimes technology does what it's not expected to do or is in some way possessed. So I wanted to engage with that quite directly with this idea of a story that you read on your phone where ghosts inhabit the story, inhabit your phone in some way that is a little uncanny.
By making that phone feel haunted, Breathe puts it into the same history of mediums as radio and television and telephones. So the radio with the crackling static, that's already spooky. A TV that's able to spill kind of like haunted girls onto the floor of your lounge. Mobile phones don't have that same kind of static, and yet what Kate's managed to do is make it feel haunted.
The story is site responsive in that it personalizes itself to where you are, where you're reading, the time of day, the weather outside. And so I liked the idea of using those elements to add a ghostly layer on top of the story.
That's the thing that stuck with me when I went away from the text. It made me look at my device again. And it made me realize that we always have a camera pointing at our face and always have a camera pointing away from us, scanning our landscape. And we don't know who's on the other end of the line picking up those signals. Then you have these more interesting interactions of using a camera, of wiping the screen, and that finger on glass moment that has just become the default for what we do in a digital world has suddenly become literary. And so we do this movement between veils of reality, between our world, the story world, and that comfortable space of books that we're really familiar with.
Part of my response to the ambient literature project was this idea of thinking about what it means to write a situated text. For me, that was very much to do with the notion that you read a story in bed at night on your own. And is there a way in which the technology can help situate that story actually where you are when you're reading and what you're reading, and how those things can work together to potentially create a new form of storytelling, a new kind of reading experience.
Yes, and so we also innovate and collaborate. So as we're interfacing with digital scholars and we're learning about all the awesome things that they want to do with the digital collections, we're also understanding what we can kind of grab from digital scholars and things we can learn from them and tools that we can use on our own collections as well. So because we share many of the same challenges as researchers wanting to work with digital collections. We want to understand which ones we have. We want more of them, so we want collections to be digitized. We want to be able to disambiguate authors and locations within the text and the catalog records. We also would like to have better text searchability. So, the pain is real, and we feel it as well. And there's a lot to learn from digital humanities and all of the data science and all of these techniques. So our group is very much focused on taking those methods and turning them onto our own collections as well to see what we can learn. So you'll hear a little bit more about a major project to that end called Living with Machines. But I'll tell you a little bit about one that I and some others have been involved in recently. So, we have tons and tons of digitized manuscripts and archives at the library. We're digitizing all the time, and making these fully text searchable is quite problematic. So, not least of which is that kids today don't even know how to read this stuff. It's all typed stuff. I mean, and look at that. That's very challenging just for us. So we're working in a lot of realms with computer scientists who are working in the realm of automated text recognition, so handwritten text recognition, so software that is going to programmatically, automatically read this stuff for us and read handwritten text and turn it into text searchable text. So you can imagine that's quite a tall order, but it's very fascinating for us. So we're focusing very much on Arabic and Bengali. So we have a lot of Arabic manuscripts that have been digitized through our Qatar digital library. And we also have 2 Centuries of Indian Print, which is a digitization project, which is digitizing Bengali text. So that's printed text, but still. So through those 2 avenues, things that we're trying to do to get ourselves positioned in front of computer scientists working in this realm is we host competitions. So we put our ground truth, which is exactly what's written on the page. We send it off as a competition to these major conferences on document analysis and recognition, and the best of the best try and recognize the text that we have sent. And things that start moving things forward, we had, the last time we did the Arabic one, Google had put their hat in the ring, and they didn't actually win the competition. So they hired an intern to look at this specifically. And so the next time they will win it, of course. But it gets us in the front, us and our materials and these unique materials and these non-Western scripts in front of these big players and also research, everybody, to try and crack this so that they don't get left behind like the other texts. There's also the Transcribus project, if you haven't heard about that. We'll tweet about it later. You must learn about this. It's great. It's a major project, and again, we contribute a lot to that. So when we have digitized materials, we'll send it to Transcribus, and we'll mark it up. We'll try and transcribe it ourselves. And what that project is doing is using machine learning to try and automatically do the pattern recognition on the handwritten text, and they've had really promising and exciting results. So if you go on bl.uk or on our blog, we've written all about these projects. So I'll share these slides as well so you guys can have a look at that later. And you might have heard mention earlier about LibCrowd. So this is another great project of ours. And again, it's all around us trying to figure out ways to make the digital collections more accessible. And it's always, since we have a lot of text at the library, it's usually around trying to make the text more accessible. So we have a very large collection of printed playbills from the 18th and 19th century. And the problem with those, you can see all the different fonts. And so still, to this day, the computer cannot really read that very well. So the human eye, there's still a chance for the human eye. So we have a crowdsourcing project here, and so we ask people to transcribe bits of it, and I don't know what the latest statistics are, but it's been hugely successful. It's super fun. You could do it right now. I won't be insulted if you look down at your phone and do a couple of transcriptions, because without this, they're not at all accessible. So, it's rich with actors and locations and topics. It's rich with that, but right now it's just online. It's not transcribed. There's no text. You can't search it. So once that project is over, we're going to have a really rich resource. And it's not just people transcribing, so people are sharing what they know of actors and what they know of theater. So there's a whole community around it that's not just about the transcription. So for engagement, it's pretty awesome. And we connect and share. So we are always looking to share our knowledge. I think that's a theme that you've probably heard a lot of, and it's true, we do. So the whole lot of us are engaged in a ton of different projects. So it runs the range of, the Turing Data Science and Digital Humanities Interest Group to the Humanities Intensive Learning and Teaching, HILT, if anybody's heard of that, Digital Classics Advisory Group. So we're everywhere. And if we are not somewhere and you think we should be, let us know, and we will be there. Because we don't know everything, and we can't know everything. And people who write us at digital research at bl.uk want answers, and they want help with their digital scholarship. So we need to maintain these connections with these wider networks so that we can really help and point people in the right direction. So if we're not on a board or something, please invite us that you think would help the digital scholarship realm. And finally, we invest in our staff, and this has always been a huge core of what our team does, and a very, very important one. So, things can't happen in a vacuum, and digital can't just happen with those, beautiful faces you saw there earlier. It has to be everybody. This is everybody's job. It's all part of it. And actually, it's becoming part of the job description. I just sat on an interview panel for a French curator job, and specifically in there is a requirement to have, an understanding of digital scholarship. So this is the future, and this is where we're going. So we do this in a variety of different ways. And you can read more about the training program or just grab me in the hallway anytime or email me. So we put on bespoke courses for staff, and we develop them with researchers, and we make the courses very much situated in the curatorial library view. So when we learn about, how to wrangle data, it's not just a kind of course that's given to everybody. We're learning how to wrangle catalog data and the, very strange anomalies that happen in, normalizing old historical catalog records, that sort of thing. So it's very much situated in our area of work. So a recent one was on an introduction to corpus linguistics for the humanities, which was just packed full, and we're going to have to keep running it over and over. And I was hearing a lot of questions earlier about, are the curators involved, and how do they feel about digital, and is it problematic? But we found over the years, no, our problem is we can hardly keep up with supporting them because they all have such awesome ideas, and we're only a tiny team. So we certainly have the opposite problem at the British Library, but it's a good problem to have. So we also do these things called Hack and Yaks, and they're every month, and it's just for 2 hours. Anyone can come. It's a sort of like drop-in thing, but we'll have a topic that we do all together, and nobody is an expert on anything. We just figure something out together. And so usually it's an online tutorial on some kind of topic that's of relevance to the group. So recently, though, we had, and sometimes we invite people in to do a hack and yak for us. So we recently had Dr. Giles Burgle from Oxford Visual Geometry Group, and that was around using a software that they have developed around matching and comparing and classifying images with computer vision. So our curators were interested in that because they want to see, in their digitized collections, where have things been digitized multiple times, or, if I know that this person is the author of this thing or designed this thing, could they possibly be also the designer of this thing? So, curators are asking the same questions of the collections as researchers. And then we offer individual support. So the digital curators are all embedded in specific collection areas. So I'm part of European and Americas. We have Asia-Africa collection curators. We have contemporary British, Western heritage. So we're all sitting in these different, we sit as a team, but we also focus on these different collection areas. And then we put on staff talks. So if we hear of someone awesome in the digital world is like coming through London, we nab them as fast as we can and say, come talk to our staff about the awesome things they're doing. And that's been just outstanding. So we have one on, machine and deep learning for librarians, designing tools for collections. And we also have the Digital Scholarship Reading Group, which is hugely successful. I think that gets between 15, 20 staff every month, and that's around topics around digital scholarship. So we'll read any number of papers on machine learning or whatever is the topic of the day. So that was a whirlwind tour. There's so much else I could be telling you about. But we have case studies that we're starting to put up online. So if you have more questions, just go to bl.uk digital, or we're always on Twitter, or just drop us a line. Thank you.